What up, Screen Fiends? I'm GB, and you're tuned in to Headz TV, where we like to discuss all the wonderful things appearing on your movie and your TV screens. Alright, so this is going to be another Star Wars video. In this one, we're going to do top 5. So we're going to do the top 5 theories on who Rey's parents are, what Rey's lineage is. Now, I know this one may have been talked to death, but I think I might have a few interesting insights into each one that maybe not be out there. So I think I can add to the conversation. So that's why I went ahead and made this video. I do not take credit for any of these theories. None of them came out of my crazy noodle. I really don't know who to give credit for. I kind of tried to look around and I couldn't figure out who was the go-to guy on whom came up with most of these. And I'm sure they're all different people. But it is what it is. I'm sure many people take credit for being the first. Now, we're going to do this 5-1. 5 being the one that's least likely to happen, and 1 being, in my opinion, the most likely and therefore my favorite. All right, let's try to get this going. Number 5, we have Anakin's clone. Now, when I heard this one at first, I'm like, absolutely no way. That's garbage. That's trash. And then I started to think about it a little bit, and it's still garbage and trash. But I like the idea of it being a clone because that brings the clones back into it. I like the prequel trilogy, and I would like for them to start pulling a little more from that. You know, I'm not saying tons, but a little more, and a clone would do that. And I also like the idea of Palpatine secretly having a clone made out of Anakin's DNA. Before he died or whatever. And maybe it wasn't put into action or active until Snoke came back into the picture and activated it or something like that. I like that idea. And then there was this whole secret war for the clone, which was Rey as a little baby. And then they finally stashed her off. And, and that gives credence to why she's so strong. Why she was so quick to have those force powers or to even know how to do them, because she has Anakin's memories and knows what Anakin knew. So it does make sense in a way if you really try and pick it to the bone, but I really think it's unlikely because it involves a lot of explanation that I don't think there's room for. But if they explain it over the course of 2 films, there probably is room for this explanation. So, and it would make Snoke seem like an even meaner, more evil guy, And then it would open the question to, wow, is Rey going to turn evil the way Anakin turned evil? So it is an interesting idea. It sounds stupid the first time you say it, but as you start to talk about it, it starts to sound intriguing and interesting. And then you have the idea of reincarnation, where it's not actual reincarnation, but it's a scientific way to reincarnate someone, to clone them after they've passed. So if you think of it, it kind of is reincarnation. And we all know how Star Wars likes to pick and pull from religion. So I kind of like it. That's why it made my list as number 5. All right, now we move to number 4, Obi-Wan's grandkid. Now this one I like a lot also. Everything on the list I like, of course. But now this one I like a lot. For many reasons. Of course, we love Obi-Wan. We want to see the Kenobi lineage go on. And then there was all these hints in Rebels that, he was interested in a lady. And a Mandalorian at that, which would be pretty awesome if Rey had Jedi and Mandalorian in her. That would be pretty sick. But, so, they've laid a little bit of tracks for it. But not everybody watches the animation. Not everybody reads the books. Not everybody will watch the spin-off movies and all of that. So you can't explain Rey's lineage in those mediums. She's a main character and very important to the new movies. So you have to explain it, if it's important, in the movies that she's in. So that's why I think this one is not going to happen, because of that reason. It's just too much exposition for 1 or even 2 movies, in my opinion. Obi-Wan is not a main character in them, so it's a lot of extra explaining. And it's a lot of explaining characters that aren't in these films. And that's what makes it almost impossible to me. But I do really like the idea of a Kenobi versus a Skywalker again for the final showdown with Rey versus Kylo. I like that a lot. Okay, let's move on. Next, we have Number 3, which would be Luke's daughter. Now, I like this. I like it a lot because, you know, it's Luke. We all love Luke. We all want to see Luke's bloodline carry on. It's not enough for some of us to have the Skywalker lineage carry on through through Leia, you know, being with Han. But we kind of want Luke to have that kid. And not just because of the legend stuff, just because that's what we want as fans, right? And, you know, it would be awesome to, and maybe that's why she's so overpowered, because she's a direct descendant of Luke. Whereas Leia wasn't as strong in the Force as Luke was, or at least that's what we're led to believe. We don't really know, right? Because Leia never really had any training, so. But neither did Rey, and look how strong Rey is, you know? So it leads you to believe that she is connected to Anakin in some way, or connected to some strong will of the Force or something. So yeah, I like this one, but again, you have a lot of explaining to do. You know, Luke has never been seen with a love interest outside of Leia, which was all kinds of weird. But, you know, Luke has never had a love interest, at least not in anything that's canon. So you'd have to explain that love interest and what happened to her, and were they married, or did they have a baby out of wedlock? And, you know, and yeah, just have a lot of explaining to do. And why did Luke abandon his daughter and go off? Why wouldn't he stay and protect her from the dark side and try and teach her the light side? You know, there's a lot of questions to that. So I really don't think that's going to be it because of the explaining, but it is a lot more feasible than Obi-Wan, because Luke is a main character, like I said, so it's easier to explain that stuff with him than it is with a character that's not even part of the movie. All right, next we have number 2. Now this one, I like it a lot, but I can see why a lot of people would be like, no, especially haters of the prequel trilogy. And I know there's many of you out there, but this one would have to involve midi-chlorians. I guess they wouldn't have to explain midi-chlorians. They could, but whatever. So number 2 is, she's unrelated to anyone. She's just a Force baby, which I guess kind of makes her related to Anakin because they have the same dad, right? The Force. So I guess that kind of makes her a Skywalker in a way. But now, the reason why I like this one is because, like I said before, any connection to the prequels, I appreciate, even if it's something small, because the prequels are canon, and I enjoy them. I just recently rewatched them, you know, for my May the 4th videos and everything, and I like them a lot, you know. Revenge of the Sith is one of my favorites out of the whole series, so take that for what you will. But an unrelated Force baby, I like that. It explains why she's so strong in the Force. Because remember, Anakin, even with no training, when he was a youngster, was able to wield the Force in those pod races. You know, he was smart as anything, so I'm sure that came from the Force, being able to build all those robots and build his own pod racer at, you know, 8, 9 years old, whatever he was. So, yeah, I like it. It gives it an explanation to why she was so overpowered. That was my biggest problem with The Force Awakens, was how overpowered. It was really my only problem, other than them kind of carbon copying A New Hope. But that's for another video. You know, so if they explain it with something like this, no problem. Then I'm okay with that one aspect of A Force Awakens. So yeah, I think we can go with unrelated Force baby being a feasible idea. They would just have to either say midi-chlorians and kind of do a little explaining again on that, but it wouldn't take much, just like they did in Phantom Menace. Or they could just say she's a child of the Force and not even piss off fans and bring midi-chlorians in there. And you make everyone happy. Those of us who don't mind midi-chlorians, we're happy with that because we know what that means. And those of you who want to denounce midi-chlorians, you'll be happy because they don't mention midi-chlorians. So I like this one as my number 2. I like it a lot because it explains my biggest problem with The Force Awakens. Alright, finally, on to my number 1, and the most likely, the one that I really think is going to happen, is that Rey is Han and Leia's. It would be weird if she was Luke and Leia's. Han and Leia's This isn't Game of Thrones now, right? Kid. So, now I know a lot of people automatically say, no. Too obvious. There's a million reasons why you would say this isn't a good idea. And I would agree with you on many of them. But, with that being said, I take into account something that Daisy Ridley had said about The Force Awakens, that she was getting plagued with all these questions on who Rey's parents were. And she didn't understand it because she thought it was clear in the movie. So maybe something was either cut from the movie that they filmed and we didn't get to see, or the way it was written in the script already alluded to her who the parents were. And that's what I think the scenario is. That the script, in the way it was described to the actors in the text, alluded to Han and Leia being her parents. Let me say where. So there's a point in the Millennium Falcon where Han meets Rey, and at first it seems like he doesn't know who she is, and then after speaking to her, he kind of makes this face, and I think he realizes now that this is his daughter. And then the other scene that I think was in the script that let her know was at the end of the movie. There's an embrace between Leia and Rey. They hug after Han dies and all that. And I think that was either there was an extended part of that where Leia tells her, or maybe Rey already knows from just feeling it in the Force, or it could have just been a hint. Now, I personally think that though the way those two scenes were described in the script, made Daisy Ridley, feel like that's who Rey's parents were. Now, it doesn't explain why she's so overpowered, but I will say this: Jedi were started being trained at a very, very young age. So it's possible she was already getting Jedi training. But then why doesn't she remember it, G? Well, the Jedi can do lots of cool things, and one of them is a mind wipe. And I believe that Luke mind wiped Rey before they hid her away with Unkar Plot. So here's how I think it went down. Luke was training a new class of Jedi, young and old. Kylo maybe was even his apprentice. Maybe, was old enough to be up there in the ranks. And maybe he was even teaching some of them. And I think Rey was one of the young Jedi students. If you look at what Rey was wearing when they dropped her off, not that you get a good look at it, when she was dropped off on the planet, it's very reminiscent of the youngling Jedi outfits from the Revenge of the Sith and the prequel movies. So go back and check that out. Maybe you'll feel where I'm going with this. So Rey was a Padawan learner. And then when Kylo went crazy, however he was corrupted, that's all for another video, killed all of Luke's pupils. And Rey obviously was able to either hide or get away, or someone came in the nick of time, Luke, whoever, to save the day. Or maybe Kylo just couldn't do it because it was his sister. He tried and couldn't do it at that time because that was his sister and he was still weak in the dark side. That, to me, makes perfect sense. So then they whisked Rey away just to keep her safe and hid her on Jakku with Unkar Plot, whatever, and they paid him with the Millennium Falcon, and that's how he has the Falcon. That makes total sense to me. Now, why did they not stay with her? Why did they hide her by herself with such a scoundrel? I don't know why they picked Unkar Plot. Maybe they'll explain that he was once a war hero, or he was once a noble fella or something. I don't really know, but didn't seem like it to me. So I don't know why they would choose him, okay? But the reason why they didn't go with them is because they were in the middle of war. The Empire was not gone. Yes, they were defeated. Yes, they defeated the Emperor and they pushed them back, but there was still fighting going on, and there was still rebuilding that had to be done. So Leia especially was needed. And I mean, I would say Han was needed too. But look, he wasn't too far away from Jakku when he found Rey. So who knows where he was staying in the time, And then I think Lor San Tekka was charged by Luke to not only start a Jedi temple on Jakku, but to stay kind of close to Rey and keep an eye on Rey while Luke was away. Why did Luke go away? That's a topic for another video. This is about Rey. So that's what I think lends credence to Rey being the daughter of Han and Leia. And it's going to be awesome for them to fight each other, Kylo and Rey, in the end, brother versus sister. And I think that Rey is going to have to go great Jedi in order to defeat Kylo and Snoke. But that's all for later videos. So that's my top 5 theories on who Rey's parents are, what her lineage is. Let me know what you guys think down below on my top 5. And let me know what your top 5 theories are, if they're any different than this. And let me know what you think about the video, of course. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you like the video, if you like the channel. It helps us out. It helps YouTube know that you like us. Because views aren't enough to let YouTube know. They let me know. But they're not enough to let YouTube know that you like me. So, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Always appreciated. You guys have a great day. And I will see you next time.